Hi guys, and welcome to my first tutorial series about Blender. This is just going to be a quick introduction as to what Blender is, where to get it, some of the tutorials that I found useful up to now, and yeah, that's about it really. So I'll try and keep it fairly short and sweet. As you can see here, we're on the page for Blender. We're in blender.org, and the current release is Blender 2.83.1, which is a long-term support release. Now the point 1 at the end, I'm currently on point 0. I could download this version, but I haven't bothered up to now, but they will do small iterations of this if there are any minor bugs or changes that need to be done. So if it's a slightly different version, don't worry. Even when the 8.3 changes to 8.4 or 9 or whatever it is that's next due to come out, don't worry, unless there's any major changes, you'll find that what I'm going through here will work, and if for any reason it doesn't, then I will hopefully update the videos at that time. A bit further down this page, just want to draw your attention in the developers blog to this section here, which tells you all about the long-term support pilot. This basically just means up to now versions of Blender have kind of just been put out as and when, but this particular version is the first one that's going to be supported for a set period of time, which I believe is 2 years, and then the next version that's coming out will overlap it, but will also be supported for a couple of years, and so on and so forth. So you'll find that whatever happens, that if there are any bugs or any issues, that they will be supported, just like if you have a new Windows version, it's supported for a certain length of time, or a, Microsoft Word or whatever happens to be a program is often supported for a length of time. So you might want to look at that if you're interested, and this shows their release planning for what's due to come up. Also, you can look at the features of Blender if you want to have a look at what they tell you it can do. It's certainly very impressive considering it's a completely free program, but it's certainly by no means essential. If we go to the download section, which you can either get through here or through up the top here, that's a useful start to it, isn't it? Oh, there you go. No idea what happened there. You can go to download Blender 2.83.1, and that default is the Windows installer. They also do a portable version of the Blender, so that if you wanted to run it from a memory stick or something where it's not actually part of your system, you can do that, especially if you want to try it out but you don't really want to mess up anything on your current system. Also, if you happen to have Mac or Linux or anything like that, you've also got that as an option. And if you're really advanced, you can also download the source code, which you can play around with to your heart's content, but to be honest, if you're that far advanced, you're not going to be looking at this video. So excuse me. So let's just say you've downloaded Blender and you've got it on your system. If I open it up here, one of the first things that you will get that you don't see here is a setup screen, which just asks you which defaults you want to use for your mouse and so on and so forth. To be honest, unless you've come from another program which uses different defaults, you can just stick with everything they suggest and click OK. But most times other times when you open up Blender, you'll get this splash screen which will have a really nice picture that somebody's done. This one's done by Ian Hubert, obviously very talented. And it'll also tell you which version you happen to be running. So I'm only running 2.83.0, so I'm 0.01 behind, but to be honest, there's not going to be enough changes to worry about. It'll also give you the option of creating new files or loading up any recent files and a few other bits and pieces. But if you just click out of that, then that just brings you to this main screen. Now there are a couple of things here that are slightly different to what you will see as normal, because I've made some slight changes, but I will go through that in another video. But that's kind of what Blender looks like. Don't worry if you're looking at video editing, because these things all change. This is just your 3D view space, but you can change by things up here, for example, which takes you to the video sequencer, or you can go to the video sequencer up here. There's lots of different ways to do the same thing, and you can customize it to your heart's content, but I'm not going to go down that route on this occasion because that's just another video in itself. Taking you back to the browser, I just want to go through 3 YouTube channels that I've used that I found quite useful. They are all 3D modelling based, but a lot of the stuff you learn, especially the shortcuts and everything, are useful right across the board, even with video editing and compositing, so I would highly recommend them. The first one is a guy called Born CG. Now, he has done in the past some VFX videos, among other things, but these were all based on Blender 2.79, which is a different interface, and some of the things have changed. So you may find that if you're into VFX, that some of what he does here is great, but it doesn't work for you, or is so different that you don't know quite what you're doing. But it might be useful just pointing it out. But the main reason to bring you to this page is because he has also done, up near the top, a Blender 2.8 tutorial series. Now this one happens to have 7 videos that, although it doesn't go into anything in depth, takes you through a whole raft of Blender information in a very short space of time. Most videos are between half an hour and 50 minutes, so you can go through the whole session in probably about 3.5–4 hours, although probably not in one sitting. So yeah, he's useful to have. That's the kind of first guy I would suggest that you go to. The second one is a guy called Grant Abbott. Now he does so many videos and so many playlists, you might find it difficult to find where you've got to start, although it happens to say here Blender 2.8 full course. But if you also go to his website, which is gabbit.co.uk, and go under the section 2.8 beginners course, you will find everything done as levels, so you can follow through the levels and get progressively better and better at 3D modelling if that's what you choose. Now personally, I've done levels 1, 2, 3 and 4, and I've taken a break at the moment because it's taught me everything I want to know initially about 3D modelling and all the shortcuts, and I just want to have a play around with some of my own stuff to see what I can do. Now the last guy is Blender Guru, excuse me, and he is self-titled Guru, but it is a well-deserved title, and he does lots of videos, including this one here, which is a beginner course which is classed as the donut tutorial, and for many it's considered a rite of passage if you want to get into 3D modelling. So I would highly recommend that if 3D modelling is something you want to do, especially if you want to go down photorealistic backgrounds and objects, because that's kind of what this guy does more than anything else. But even if you don't want to get into all of that, even if you looked at Born CG and Grant Abbott, you would find a lot of what they do useful, although I will try and go through things that are appropriate for those guys, certainly coming from the puppetry viewpoint or wanting to do VFX or compositing. If we go back to Blender, I just want to show you something that I've done just to show you what's possible to do. Now I'm not a 3D modeler, but I made this let's change my settings, there you go. I made this model after following a lot of the tutorials that have been online, although this isn't a model that's been done with a tutorial. This is a model that I've completely done off my own back. If I go to the camera view, you can see here that we've got shadows, we've got lots of objects including all the textures and everything. And it is a complete model that I can fly around. I could animate a path around it. You know, I could put a puppet in the foreground here as if he's going to go into the house, especially if I was doing an off take of Up or something along those lines. So this is a potentially useful background to have for a setup, but this was really just to play around and find out what I could do based on the tutorials that I've done up to now. It's not finished, I've still a few other things I want to do with it, but it's certainly a start. So yeah, this is part of what's possible, and we'll get into a bit more of it as we go further down the line. So yeah, that's kind of it really. We'll leave it at there, and then in the next one I'll show you all about the setup.